Hi everyone, I wanted to give just a really quick update. Obviously we've had a lot of life updates going on around here, and so it's time to kind of go over what's been going on. So if you've been following along with us, we've recently moved 1,600 miles from southern Arizona to southern Illinois. We purchased a property here with a tiny white house, a couple outbuildings on it, and 3 acres, including a nice wooded area behind us and plenty of room for us to grow what we wanted to grow. And so the trip was fine. We made it through. We had pretty much all of our life possessions. I wouldn't say anything catastrophic happened on the trip by any means. So it was fine. No major snafus. It was just a lot of driving, and we were exhausted after each and every day. But we did make it. When we did roll into town here, what was crazy is, for those of you who have a great memory, Southern Illinois at one point back towards the end of June got hit really hard with a lot of supercells and tornadic activity. And unfortunately, in one of those supercells ended up forming into a pretty substantial tornado, which did kill a few folks. And that was only literally a mile or two away from where we were staying at. And what's crazy is we saw the wall clouds actually forming that created that storm. And then it was just tornado sirens on and off pretty much for the rest of the evening for us at the hotel. And what was scary is we could see a lot of the rotation going on above us. And I actually have footage of I think it's called a scud cloud that was forming and starting to pick clouds up. Thankfully it did not start picking up any debris along with it, but it was really unnerving to watch that and not know like what was going to happen and what to do if you're stuck in a hotel. So anyways, we made it. The next morning was closing, so we got up bright and early, had to run a ton of errands before we could even make it to closing, had to go get a cashier's check written up, had to drop Minnie off to doggy daycare for the day so we could start unloading. And then finally we made it over with just a couple minutes to spare before closing to go to the walkthrough of this house. And so that's where things got a little bit interesting. And so we came and looked at the house, and I was not expecting greatness. I could tell, from the tour, from the videos, from the photos, I could see this house cosmetically needed a lot of work. It hadn't been updated probably since the 80s, 90s, grasping maybe at the early 2000s. And so I knew I had my work ahead of me, but unfortunately when I walked in, there was a few things that was very hair-raising and very alarming, that I was really let down about with the process. I felt like I was kind of let down by my realtor. I was let down by the inspector that we used. And so a couple of the things were that the floors substantially were kind of sloping and in certain parts. And the other aspect of that too, we could feel, we nicknamed it the fun house because, it felt just kind of wavy in every room. I don't know if there's actually a level room in this entire house, but anyways, it was just those kind of things that we were like, why didn't they call that out? They didn't call out, some substantial cracking that was going on some of the plaster in the rooms. And even going back and reading the inspection report, he did look under our crawl space and foundation and stuff, and he didn't really notate anything of concern. But to me, like, those would be like major things. But anyways, it is what it is. It is a 100-plus-year-old home, so that is to be expected. And maybe I'm just overreacting a little bit to that. If you are in an older home and have experienced the same, let me know. Because to me, I wasn't expecting it to be move-in ready, but I wasn't expecting it to be that in-depth. And so anyways, so Paul and I literally stood in this room that day, literally time for us to get in the car and go to closing. And Paul and I are sitting there asking ourselves with our realtor, like, what do we do? Do we even go to closing at this point? Do we walk away from this completely? And then we had to remind ourselves that we're not in it for this house. This isn't our dream house by any means. We are here to work the land and steward the land that's here. And so that is what we had to kind of ground ourselves and remind ourselves. Were we upset still? Absolutely. I was very upset. I would say I was more angry than upset when we went to closing. It took all I had in me to not really give the seller's agent a piece of my mind. And so anyways, we went through that process, came back. It was officially ours. And the thing that was really frustrating the most is that, you know, I had a checklist of things that I wanted to get done, and a lot of that was garden related. We wanted to start tilling the soil and getting things ready outside. We wanted to start setting up our grow room and getting things established, getting things in the ground, you know, just getting, you know, what our hopes and dreams were for this place. And instead, our priorities had to shift to rebuilding a kitchen floor because there was a massive 2-inch slope. We had to paint walls because the stench in this house was very overwhelming. You know, the house hadn't been cleaned in probably years, and so there was a lot of vacuuming. We had to rent a rug cleaner, you know, to clean all of the carpets in this house because there's just a weird stench. It wasn't like a hoarder house of like cats and dogs or anything. There's definitely like a urine-y type of smell, and then obviously just a person kind of stench. I don't know how to describe it, but it was really intense. So I want to talk about the other reason why we moved here, essentially, and it's obviously not for just this house. It was for a plethora of other different reasons. A lot of it was because we wanted somewhere where we could actually grow what we wanted to grow without contending with weather and so many other different types of scenarios. And so something else that was really big for us too, why we decided to come to this particular part of the country and to do this, is because we wanted to take the flowers a different route. Out here in Southern Illinois, there's already a lot of established flower farms and new pick fields and things of that sort, which we already knew coming in that we weren't going to be filling that void in this region. It's already been established, so we wanted to go somewhere where we could pursue other things. Back when we lived in Arizona, I was having a little bit of a hard time after the whole farmers market snafu and trying to get something started in the town I was in and not having luck, and just kind of just feeling a little underwhelmed with the amount of work I was putting into growing flowers and selling those, and then just not making good connections as what I was hoping to find there. So while we were out there and kind of dealing with all of that, my mind started going to different things of what can I do that kind of brings me some joy in my life. And I started thinking about a couple different things that make me happy, and some of those things are, you know, history, fantasy type of stuff. Also, you know, traveling around. And so it kind of occurred to me that I could take my flowers and my growing to a completely different market that is outside of the traditional farmers market type of scenario, or weddings and things of that sort, which I was never really keen on to begin with. I need you to stop. So the other thing that I wanted to look at is I decided that perhaps maybe we go on to a traveling fair circuit type of deal where we can grow during the week and then kind of go to festivals and fairs on the weekend and sell that product in a lot of different aspects. And so as you can see behind me, I have a lot of my dried stuff that's been put out from the move, as well as some things that have been acquired. I've already been working with a local farm here in this region to obtain stuff that I know obviously I'm not going to have since I'm getting such a late start in the season here, and so that has been such a great asset to have as I pursue that. And then also I have a lot of wreaths and things going on behind me that are a part of this journey, and so I'm going to be more so focused on the dried aspect. That is something that has definitely not been touched upon for this region, and I think it's a void that I can try to help fill. So I'm pretty excited about that aspect, but I think we want to focus a lot on, again, those fairs and festivals, music festivals, art fest, Renaissance fairs. Ideally, we would love to be a part of a Ren Fair circuit. I think that's where Paul and I would mesh really well with people. You know, I think we're quirky enough you know, to get along with a lot of those people. I know I am. I loved going to them when I was younger. Went to them throughout my college days, had a lot of friends who were in college who would go and work over there seasonally and stuff, and so I've kind of been missing that a little bit. A lot of you know, like, the Ren fairs have kind of blown up the past few years, have gotten really crazy, and it's almost kind of overwhelming to go to them, and that to me tells that there's a lot of people there that are looking for something, and so hopefully some things that I can help offer. The other part of this, obviously, as you can see, a lot of my dried stuff here. I also have a lot of artificial crowns that I've been making up, and my hope and goal and dream is that I can have enough dried flowers to eventually fill that void for flower crown making. Right now, what I would have left in my stock would make maybe only a handful of crowns, and then I would be done. So that's something that I want to pursue, and I hope I can make it eventually to that point. But for now, I'm going to start with the artificial crown route and kind of go that way and kind of see how it pans out. I already have about 100 crowns that are made up and ready to go. I have 2 events already locked down for my region here, and then obviously I'm coming late into the season, and so I have to get a head start, I would say, come fall winter, and getting applications out to a lot of the other festivals for the next year in 2027. So I'm very anxious for that, looking forward to that, looking forward to having more product and exciting things. I love this because I can use my creativity, I can meet people, and these are not draining every weekend events. You know, it's just, you know, once you can kind of set or establish how much you want to do it. Do you want to get into a full-time circuit where you're going from long-term festival that's, you know, 6+ weeks, or do you just want to occasionally do this, maybe a one-day event, maybe a couple weekends for some of the smaller fairs and festivals? So that's such a great thing to be able to kind of figure out your life and kind of plan around those kind of things. And I think it just works well for what Paul and I want to do anyways, which is farm. We want to grow things and to have the ability to still maintain the farm here and just only contribute and work at the shows and festivals within our kind of vicinity or tri-state or area around us, and then, you know, work on those on the weekend, and then again come back and be at home to maintain and work through the fields and stuff. So to me, it just seems like an ideal scenario. It's in the infancy still, but not really. I mean, we already have a lot of stuff. For those of you who are interested in that part of it, we already do have an established Facebook page as well as a YouTube where we've been creating reels and shorts, and that is called The Friar and Fairy, and that is going to be our Renaissance portion. Kristen Helm Farms will still be here to probably document a lot of the actual growing aspect, but then Friar and Fairy is going to take over that niche again of the fantasy Ren Fair, you know, whimsical creation of the products that we're creating from that. And so anyways, not to blabber around too long, just wanted to share a little bit of an update, kind of let everybody know that we've made it here. It's been very interesting, and that we are very excited for what the future ahead is going to bring. So thanks so much for watching, my friends. Take care. I'll see you next time.